We have a number of interesting, important action items. The first, we consider an approval of a proclamation designating May 2014 as Foster Parent Appreciation Month in Marion County. Let's see, DHS Child Welfare Foster Parent Recruiter. There's a title. Alicia Kueny is here. Alicia, if you'd go ahead and start. If I'm saying that wrong, you can correct me, but go ahead.
Good morning, and thank you, Commissioners. I am Alicia Kueny, and I appreciate you having us here again this year in the month of May for consideration of this important proclamation. In my years of education and social work, and my 9 years specifically of experience working in child welfare, I've come to recognize and embrace the power of relationship. We know that the biggest predictor of success in families that are working with child welfare is not just the access to services, but in the power of the relationship that they build with the agencies who they're working with, and that empowers them to make change. For the approximately 700 children who are currently in foster care here in Marion County, their success in the home and in the school is significantly impacted by a nurturing and safe relationship with their foster parent or relative caregiver. In the last several years, we at DHS have learned that as an agency, we cannot do our work in isolation. We can best serve the children and families that we work with by reaching out and joining hands with others in the community. And with these relationships, we can wrap our arms around the families who are accepting our community's most vulnerable children into their homes. So as a foster parent recruitment and retention specialist with DHS, I'm here today with local business leader Dick Withnell of Withnell Motor Company, local faith leader Sam Skillern of Salem Leadership Foundation, and Tamara Getch of our Family Preservation Action Team. And I'm going to invite them up here to speak on behalf of their own commitments to foster parent recruitment and retention in our county.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Tamara Getch, Community Service Director. Back in 2005, the Marion County Children and Families Commission, which I have two members to either side of me, took on a path that is in support of this month's appreciation recognition. We wanted to take the moment to really focus in on what young people who are students, family members, anyone that is affected by abuse, neglect, threat of harm, etc., as defined by Department of Human Services Child Welfare as for child abuse. And we really wanted to figure out how do we as a community come around and support these young kids who are in our community that are our future. How do we support them in a way that matters? And if you can recall, back in 2005, it was a time where our community was really riddled with a lot of meth abuse. Families were being impacted beyond our realization at the time, and our numbers in the foster care system was soaring. And through a local effort, which we'll hear more about, the Commission decided to roll up its sleeves, take charge, try to figure out what we can do as community leaders to address this. We created back then what was called a foster care action team, but today we're now looking at how do we preserve families, and since the name changed to Family Preservation Action Team. But we knew that we needed a forum to bring together our leaders to really look at the issue, identify how we have a multi-pronged approach to address this need in our community. The number of kids who were in foster care far outweighed the number of foster parents, and we know that foster parents are so critical in the healthy development of these kids who have gone through a lifetime of trauma, have already seen more than most of us ever care to have seen in our lives. But through these nurturing, caring relationships, they have this wonderful opportunity to heal and to move forward and be productive citizens as they mature into their adulthood. We at the Commission just so support the efforts that DHS is doing in reaching out. We appreciate the fact that they kind of link up arm in arm with our community leaders to try to figure out how we can create a community approach, a systemic, collaborative, strategic plan to address the needs. We're still committed to that. The Foster Parent Family Preservation Action Team continues to meet today. It's actually open to the public, so if anyone is interested in identifying effective ways to support families in this arena, we invite them to participate and then call our Community Services Department or go on the web and identify how they can reach us. So,
Commissioners, my name is Dick Withnell, small businessman here in Salem. Actually, a used car salesman. I think so, I need to say publicly, and I do this a lot when I come before you, I want to thank you for your service. I think sometimes we in the private sector don't acknowledge and thank the public sector and for what you do. I know you're a 2 now, usually you're 3 with Patty Mellon retiring, and the thanks goes to her too, but thank you for serving. In 2005, the private sector was riddled with methamphetamine and with actually in my business cars being stolen. I don't think people realize that the number at that time was like 10, 11, 12 cars a day. A day were being stolen in 2005. So we banded together the private sector to do something about the methamphetamine. And then came the unintended consequence of all of the children that were coming out. And I think it's very appropriate today that we say we're talking about the appreciation of foster care parents. I mean, there's not the unintended consequence of the children coming out of the methamphetamine homes, for example, and finding out that the need for foster care parents, that this community called Marion County, with the Brian Johnson, who was Department of Human Services interim manager at the time, and since he's passed, and with Judge Abernathy and with Sam Skillern representing the faith community, and then with the other people who have been involved, as well as you commissioners, to rally the Marion County to come together with foster care. The call went out for foster care parents, and it was significant in that this county responded because Casey, the Casey Foundation, acknowledged Marion County as being one of the best in the United States for doing that. But we're here to acknowledge the foster care parents. I think, I say personally that I've been looking for the magic, the silver bullet, so to speak, or what makes a difference in a community. And I really believe it's the mentoring. It's, some of us call it a sponsorship, the AA model, but the foster care parents are affecting these children, and we cannot say enough for them and the hard work. And I know Sam will echo that too. But I just want to say that. Thank you for the acknowledgement of the foster care parents. We thank the foster care parents for what they do, and the whole community has come together. Instead of just saying, DHS, you do it, the community has said, we will do it, and the foster care families are a part of this.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here today, Commissioners, and I want to thank Sam for his comment originally that some really important people were going to be here, and we received that compliment, but really you're going to hear from the all-stars and the heroes right after us. It's the parents and the youth that are making the difference. But like Alicia said, it's about relationships, and it all started right here. Dick and Anna Peterson, of course, kind of brought the voice from the business community and the lay community, but until Marion County, until District Attorney Beglaw and the commissioners and the sheriff and the judges back in 2005, 2006, sort of pounded the table and said, we need help, we want to partner, let's come together. And it was a specific ask to the large community in general, but really to the faith community in particular. And we used to meet in the conference room right behind the Senator hearing room here and plan through the foster care action team. What could we do to get the word out? What could we do to inspire interest in partnership? What were the roadblocks that needed to be cleared so that church and state could work together, so that business, community, and schools could work together? Billy Cordero was real involved in those days from DHS, and he and I drafted up a little thing called Leaning Into Foster Care, and we used to go around to churches. Tammy helped us create the slides and the materials to talk to churches how they could begin to learn about foster care, who in their congregations were already providing foster care, how to support them, how to get the word out for more respite care, because we need to give our foster parents relief, and then, of course, how to become foster parents. And I think within a 2-year period, we recruited over 200 new foster parents, not exclusively from the faith community, but largely from the faith community, because that was the identified audience that we wanted to reach out to. And just think of all the things that have sprung forth from that. Foster Parent Night Out, birthed at Our Savior's Lutheran Church. It's in 8 or 9 churches across the county now, where on Saturdays, parents can get respite and have the foster kids get great care at the church while the parents get their respite care. Royal Family Kids Camp and Teen Reach Activity Camp, which Christian Center of Salem has taken on for the last 8 or 10 years, and having foster children be able to get to camp, have a birthday celebration maybe for the first time ever in their lives, and have positive adults speak into their life. Catholic Community Services stepping forward with the Forever Home movement and with the Fostering Hope movement and with the Safe Families movement. And so we just have innumerable examples of agencies, government, churches, business coming together to provide prevention, intervention, and restoration. How do we prevent the need for kids to even have to think about going into foster care? How do we provide great foster care when it's needed? And then how do we restore and heal kids and families in the community as we go? When we were starting, we had 1,200 kids in Marion County who were in foster care at that time. The number now is 700. Still too many. 700 too many, but 700 is a lot better than 1,200. So prevention, intervention, and restoration works. We can't mention the faith community component without tipping our hat to Catholic Community Services and the backbone that they provided. They're not doing everything alone. They're doing everything in relationship and partnership and collaboration with all of us. But it's one of the fruits of what Marion County started by inviting the faith community to get involved. And then finally, if you don't know, they've taken this concept that was birthed here in Marion County, and it's gone viral. It's called Embrace Oregon, and it's in 3 counties up in the Portland area. And the Portland Leadership Foundation and some other, the Palau organizations and churches in the Portland area have really kind of codified and put a whole structure around how the faith community can be supportive to foster families and to DHS. And so in some ways, maybe it's time for us in Marion County to kick it up a notch again. It hasn't gone away. It's still a huge emphasis. And again, churches are not only responding particularly to foster care, the need to help foster families, but they're getting out and supporting their neighborhoods and their neighborhood schools, mentoring after-school programs, community gardens, English classes, parenting classes. 10 years ago, the churches were pretty dormant in our community. Sorry on CCTV as I offend pastors and congregations, but we had all these buildings locked up and dark, except for maybe Wednesday night and Sunday morning, maybe Saturday. Now there's 50 to 60 to 70 churches in the Salem area alone. There's over 100 throughout Marion County that are engaged in significant strategic alliances with their neighborhoods, with their schools, with the business community, with DHS, with the county, on a variety of strategies. But if you hadn't convened those meetings, the Marion County Children and Families Commission hadn't provided the structure for those meetings, if we hadn't gathered in that room right over there, if Walt hadn't pounded the table, at that meeting, at that church, we might still have 1,200 kids in foster care, and we wouldn't have the relationships that we have today. So Foster Care Appreciation Month, that's pretty cool. It's an opportunity to call attention, and the proclamation will help get the word out in the county. But this is a 365-day-a-year, 24/7 type of deal. So let's highlight it during May, but let's keep it going all year long. And like I said earlier, now you're about to meet the most important people.
Thank you so much, Sam and Tamara and Dick. So as Sam mentioned, the very active faith community and partnership with DHS has been really fruitful in our recruitment of foster parents. And today I'd like to introduce you to one of our foster parent recruits from the faith community, Desiree Hilliard. She's currently a DHS certified foster parent with her husband, Brad, and we are so happy to have her and Brad on board as they provide excellent care and are just a joy to work with and are always asking for ways that they can help out even beyond their 24/7, 365 foster care.
Hi, good morning. I did kind of have a whole thing planned out until I was brought to tears by the three who were just up here. In reality, I think every foster parent needs to see that. It just brought so much of that endurance and motivation that we start to lack even throughout the day. I mean, you think Monday through Friday, come the weekend, you're tired, and then you have the kid all weekend instead of them being at school. But I mean, you wake up kind of energized in the morning, and then, you know, by 4 o'clock, you're already tired, and it's only Monday. So them three just brought just a lot of encouragement, motivation, endurance back. And if there's any way to show that to every foster parent, that would be phenomenal. As Alicia said, my husband and I are foster parents. He is Brad, and he's in Portland, and he hates that he had to miss today. But I'm Desiree, and we are on our second placement, so we are fairly new to foster parenting. We had 2 girls, which were sisters, for 6 months, and then they went home. Well, they went to grandma, and then they were able to go home to dad. And then we have 1 child in our house, and we're working on 7 months now, but there is a return to mom planned, so that's definitely something to celebrate. Again, being new to foster parenting, we are already curious how long we're going to do it. It's hard, it's tough, it's a lot harder than I expected it to be, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I expected it to be as hard as about a 12, and it's still harder than we expected it to be. And we have very, I would say, kind of medium cases. You know, we did have a little girl in our house who liked to kick in walls and things like that, and I know that, you know, there's many harder cases out there. So definitely retention is important. I mean, Brad and I know that we'll do it for a while. Again, we still wonder how long it will be. But there's just so many things that the community have done for us that really does help us keep going. You know, Alicia has let us know of some donors who have given tickets to the Trailblazers, and we were able to do that, and it was just phenomenal because a lot of the times, you know, events and tickets are offered and give these children opportunities that they may not have had, you know, if they were in a poor, you know, home or placement. So there's also, like has been mentioned, foster parent night out, which is just brilliant. I mean, it's too bad that it can't be, you know, more often than once a month. Even though that month goes by fast, the respite and the relaxation is needed a little more often than that. But Foster Parent Night Out has done wonders as well. And just the girls that we had in our house had mentors when they came in, and that was just an excellent opportunity for all those involved. You know, mentors were able to show our girls just a lot of characteristics and skills that they were lacking when they came in. So it was nice to have something so important taught by more than just myself or my husband. You know, the mentors were also backing us up and encouraging these girls that, you know, they needed to take responsibility and they needed to have certain actions while out in public, and they needed to act, you know, cautiously. And so it was nice just to kind of have that backup to show, you know, foster kids exactly what's important when you're kind of out in society. So, I mean, the community has just been absolutely supportive, and I think foster parent appreciation is amazing. I kind of back up Sam. Let's definitely highlight it in a month, but it's something that needs to be done year-round. But it would just give awareness to the community, kind of put it out in the limelight, and just kind of maybe give them the curiosity to become a foster parent themselves.
Thank you, Desiree. I'd like to introduce you to Hannah. She's 13 years old, and she is a former foster youth. And Commissioners, it's been mentioned earlier that substance abuse in our county has been a significant contributor to children entering foster care. And you may or may not be aware that drug abuse by parents is actually the second leading cause of children entering foster care. This was true for Hannah. She was born positive for meth, and she experienced 6 different placements in foster care with relative providers and foster parents before she finally landed in her 7th placement with her wonderfully matched foster parent that was just right for her and actually ended up becoming her adoptive parent. And I'd like to just ask Hannah a couple of questions so that she might share a little bit of herself with you today. Hannah, what do you think is the most important thing that you needed to feel safe and secure while you were in foster care? What made the biggest difference for you?
It would probably have to be just having that support from your foster families, of being included in the family activities, and just kind of making me, or anyone for that matter, feel safe in the home and welcome, and just having that security of knowing that you're safe and that you don't have to feel that there's anyone to hurt you, that that you want to feel that there's going to be someone there to protect you.
And Hannah, what do you think people in our community can do to support foster care?
I feel that stuffed animals are great, but things more like tickets to the fair, or like you said, a Volcanoes game, or things like theater plays and things like that that you can go and do with your foster family that just kind of take your mind off being in foster care and just kind of are fun things to do that you wouldn't normally, get to do with just that thing that's once in a while that is just that you'll remember, even though it's just so little, but it means so much to you.
Thank you, Hannah. So hearing Hannah speak, I think we come back to the value of relationship and the power of her relationship with her foster mother, and then also how the community has contributed to their family. So this month especially, we'd like to celebrate that healing relationship that foster parents provide to children in Marion County who have experienced abuse or neglect. And additionally, we want the community to know that there is still a significant need for foster parents in our county. So if anyone would like additional information about the process or what it means to be a foster parent, or if there are other ways that you would like to contribute to the foster care community, please get in touch with me. My phone number is 503-378-4490. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you all for coming and for sharing your remarks and being with us today as we approve this proclamation. Boy, so many thoughts going through my mind as the presentation was going on. Let me just start by saying that we just concluded Child Abuse Prevention Month in the month of April. And as I was looking out the window, I noticed all the blue ribbons are down now because it's May. But I think the remembrance of that is important for us to have all year round, that what we're looking at is trying to keep children safe, trying to have a healthy community. And foster care is certainly an important component of that. I think as we talk about what happens when children are in situations of abuse and neglect, yes, prevention is the key. I mean, that's what we want. That's the gold standard. We want children to grow up in loving families where their parents are responsible and take care of their children in the way that they should. When things go wrong, when there's family stress, when there's alcohol and drug abuse, there are programs that help stabilize families, and that would be then, of course, the next level of intervention, so that children can stay with their families and their families are kind of directed on the right track and have the resources they need. But that doesn't always work. People make choices and sometimes they don't make good choices. And so I think that the Department of Human Services has, what's changed over the years is that they have a much larger focus on relative care now than they did when I first got involved in this whole issue. And so they reach out and try to find a loving grandma or an aunt or an uncle or someone that will take that child, but that's not always possible either. And so there is a need, a huge need, for families that will take children that aren't related to them and give them a loving home. This actually occurred in my own life. Back in the 1990s, I had an experience with a couple of boys that were friends of my two boys, and came walking down the stairs one day and overheard them talking about how they were going to be moving into a shelter that evening. And that was a big surprise. I didn't realize that there was a drug problem in the home, that the home that I thought was theirs was actually their grandmother's, that they had been kicked out by a relative because they were kind of burning through the family assets. And so they had nowhere else to go and were going to take their children into shelters. So I remember very clearly saying, well, why don't you the children just stay here? And one night extended into a week, and then it extended into a few months. Then they were back, but for a very short period of time. And then before we knew it, they were with us for about 9 months. And it was an eye-opening experience for me. I mean, I wasn't a permanent foster parent. That was the only experience that I had with it. But we did have to be approved, and we did have to have the fire hydrant in the bedroom, and we did have to have the questionnaires and things that you go through. The youngest of the two boys is now almost 30 years old, and he wrote a little thing on my Facebook page, or on his Facebook, I don't know how Facebook works anyway, on somebody's Facebook page, and I'll just read a little excerpt from it, just because it was so touching to me, and particularly because I think that there are so many mixed feelings that you have when you're a foster parent. On the one hand, you want to do what's right for your children. On the other hand, it is very stressful. I mean, like I said, I had 3 children of my own. It was 2 little leagues, 4 teams, lots of laundry. I mean, I just remember all the transportation, so much going on when you move your family from 3 to 5 in just a matter of a few days. But, and then there's kind of a feeling of guilt, I think, too, in the sense that you feel like you're not doing as much as you only have so many hours in a day, and you feel like you shouldn't do as much as you should to be the right mom for 5 children. But this is just a little excerpt of what he wrote. He said, "She did not have to be my mom, but she chose to be. She helped me transform from a recklessly active child with no place to run to into a father who sees the best in their children, even when they are not at their best, who will be patient with them, who will laugh with them, who will make the hard choices for them, even when they can't." And he is the father of 2 children now. And just to see the growth that he had, and to see what a wonderful young man he has become, and the fact that from his perspective, what we did was over the top, and from my perspective, what we did was really so small in the context of what we might have done. I was thinking as Sam and Dick were going through the chronology of No Meth Not in my neighborhood and how that came to be, that there was a large gathering at the Salem Convention Center of the faith community that kind of kicked off that whole effort. And remember, the room was just packed with people, all from the faith community. And I think they were targeted, and I may not get the statistic exactly right, but I think it was something like 60% of the foster parents that had been recruited up to that time actually came from the faith community. So the idea of recruiting more from the faith community seemed like a natural extension of that effort. But Jason Walling, who was a speaker at that meeting, had all of these maps where they showed the numbers of foster children in a particular area and the numbers of foster parents. So in addition to just needing foster parents countywide, we really need foster parents that come from all different communities in Marion County that match up to the need for the number of foster children that are there. Because if you think about it from the perspective of the child, they didn't do anything to merit having to move out of their home. I mean, they are the victim of the abuse, and yet they become the victim again when they have to move away from their friends, they have to move out of their school, away from their teachers, into another neighborhood, perhaps into a crowded home. I'm so happy to hear that you only have 2 children and 1 child. That's wonderful, because there have been so many instances where, you know, you put 6, 7, 8 children in a home because there's nowhere else for the child welfare workers to put children. I've talked with them before, and they just beg people to find a placement when a child is pulled out of home, sometimes in the middle of the night when there's a crisis. So the third thing that I wanted to say is that community support is so very, very important, and that we do, Hannah, provide tickets to the Marion County Fair. We gave over 1,000 tickets last year, and we have 2 gentlemen here. Well, Tammy's here, and so she's in her other life when she's not doing children's issues. She's doing the Marion County Fair and dogs and a million other things. But I know it's something that we're going to do again this year, and I'm so glad that we have one of our key volunteers and our new Fair Board member here to hear this presentation so they can understand just how important that small thing is that we do with the Marion County Fair to help children and their families that are involved in the foster care system. And then the last thing that I will say is a question for you, Alicia, which is, if parental drug abuse is the second leading reason children enter foster care, what is the first?
Non-abuse neglect, which is the real driving factor behind the rollout of differential response, which you may have heard quite a bit about recently as we're rolling it out in different areas of the state.
So this would be, you're talking about basically more neglect issues, parents that are not necessarily physically abusing their children, but are just sort of indifferent to the fact that their children are there. And so their children are not getting supervision, they're not getting the basic needs, that their food, their clothing.
Right. The bottom line is that the children's needs are not being met, and that their safety is then under threat.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all. Do you want to go ahead and make a motion to approve the proclamation, and then I'll make a couple comments at the end?
So I would move that we approve the proclamation designating May 2014 as Foster Parent Appreciation Month in Marion County.
And I'll second the motion. Maybe I'll just say it now. I don't know where to start. I didn't know that about you. That impressed me more. But I want to thank Dick and Sam for coming today and all the good things you do for the community. I'm aware of it. Alicia, I know it's your job, but I think you pretty much care. I could see that through it. Desiree, I'd sure like to encourage you to keep at it. I could hear the wavering. You actually said it, but I think you're exactly the type of people. Now, I don't want to get sad because I'm coming to Hannah, just looking for safety and welcome, and you're such a fine example that somebody gave that to you, and I hope that continues. So, call the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now we'll read the proclamation as we normally do. Commissioner, if you'd begin.
In the matter of observing Foster Parent Appreciation Month, a proclamation. This matter came before the Marion County Board of Commissioners at its regularly scheduled public meeting on Wednesday, May 7th, 2014. Whereas childhood is a time for our young people to grow, protected by their families and safe in their homes. But for those unable to remain at home through no fault of their own, childhood can be a time of sadness, pain, and separation. These children need and deserve safe and loving families who can restore their sense of well-being and give them hope for the future. And
whereas we recognize the promise of America's youth in foster care, and we recommend the devotion of foster parents to step in to care for them. We also pay tribute to the professionals in Marion County who work to protect children and assist their family in addressing the issues that brought them into the child welfare system. Dedicated men and women in schools, faith-based and community organizations, and parent groups volunteer their time as advocates for children in foster care. And whereas approximately 1,500 children experienced at least one day in foster care in Marion County last year, parental drug abuse continues to be the second leading reason children enter foster care, and over 40% of children in care are under age 5. Whereas Foster Parent Appreciation Month is a time to give thanks to those individuals who have opened their hearts and homes to a child, and to invite others to join them as foster parents. Now therefore, by the virtue of the authority vested in the Marion County Board of Commissioners, we do hereby proclaim May 2014 to be Foster Parent Appreciation Month. Again, thank you all.